Hey Tommy, I think Ford is really going to struggle trying to compete with Tesla with their new Mustang Mach-E.
No, you're wrong, Dad. Well, okay, I think you may be onto something.
Full disclosure, Tommy, Ford recently let a lot of journalists drive the Mach-E, and they did not invite TFL to the program because we published some Bronco spy shots that they were not happy about.
That's right. So let's get right into talking about some of the pros and cons of buying the Mustang versus the Tesla, and maybe why the Tesla is a better purchase than the new Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of these 5 points that I have outlined here also apply to other car companies like Volvo and even Volkswagen with their new ID4. But since there are a lot of reviews out of the new Mach-E today, I thought we should talk about why I think they're going to have a hard time competing with Tesla. And the number 5 reason, Tommy, is Tesla has a magic secret sauce ingredient that no other car company has. You know what that is?
I'm not sure it's that secret anymore.
Well,
I think everybody knows about it. It's the Tesla Supercharger network.
Exactly right. They're the only car company that actually has built out worldwide an entire charging network so the Tesla owners can seamlessly and effortlessly plug in and charge on the go. And we've owned now, just keep in mind, 3 Teslas. So we've long-term tested the Model 3, the Model X, and now we own the Model Y. We've also currently owned the BMW i3, and of course we own the Smart E drive, right?
The electric drive.
Yeah, so we have a lot of experience using both Tesla's network and the other networks. And I got to tell you, Tesla's network is seamless, and it is, well, you pull up, you plug your car in, it charges your credit card, and you drive away with a full charge. They're efficient, they're fast, they're convenient, and best of all, they're located in places that you want to stop. Usually there's a shopping center or a Starbucks nearby. It's just a great network.
We need to explain what the Supercharger network is. So if you drive around to major metropolitan areas, and now even along major roadways, you'll find these charging stalls built for Tesla vehicles. Will be labeled Tesla on the top, and these are called Superchargers. So they're DC fast chargers. This is not the same amount of power that you'd get plugging into your wall at home. These are significantly faster. So on a Tesla, you can get a full charge in a matter of minutes. Typically somewhere around 30 to 40 minutes will get you about 80% charge, versus plugging in at home where it may take several hours. So they are a big deal in the EV world, and Tesla only makes these stations available to Tesla products.
Yeah, and to be fair, we've used both Tesla's and the Supercharger network, and of course ChargePoint and Electrify America, and they tend to be hit and miss, right?
Yeah, so there are some reliability issues depending on the station provider you use. You spend a lot of time typically calling up the service person being like, I'm at station number 14B and it's not charging, it's not initializing, and sometimes the credit card readers don't work. Compare that third-party situation to Tesla where you just plug it in, it automatically bills your account. It's a huge advantage for Tesla. The other thing too is, these third-party stations are working on the plug-and-go infrastructure, but it's not quite there yet. Pricing can vary hugely depending on where you're at. It does too with Tesla to some extent, but it is a big advantage. And we should also talk about the way that you can find these stations and access these stations.
Yeah, Tesla has seamlessly incorporated it into their navigation system. So if you're running out of juice, you just plug in the nearest supercharger. Not only will it tell you how many of the stalls are occupied or not, it will also plan a trip route for you so that if you're trying to go across the US, the stations are set up in such a way that you don't have to charge from empty to full. And so making cross-country travel is actually pretty painless, or as painless as it gets with an electric car.
So apparently Ford, with the Mustang Mach-E, has incorporated that charging information into the Mustang Mach-E as well.
Ford Pass.
I'd love to figure out if it works, but they didn't give us access to the vehicle. But what I can do is compare the online kind of interactive maps. So take a look at this. I went ahead and went onto the Tesla Trip Planner. And this is a program that allows you to see how long it would take to get from one destination to another. And then it shows you the charging stations along the way. So I plugged in Boulder, Colorado, and LA. And with the Tesla system, you can see it recommends I stop here, here, and here. It recommends I stop this place in Utah and this place in Nevada for 30 minutes or 70 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on the station. Really easy to understand. I did the same thing with the Ford interactive map. I plugged in Boulder, and then I plugged in Los Angeles. And Ford just went, what? They dumped hundreds of stations along the route, some of which were not DC fast chargers. So then I went to filter for the DC fast chargers, and get this, they messed up the units. They said filter for chargers over 50 kilowatt hours. Kilowatt hours is how we measure battery capacity, not charging speed. So I plugged in the DC fast chargers. It just went, what? Here are all the DC fast chargers. And it even recommended places like the Harley-Davidson dealership.
Wow, there you go.
So I guess you can charge your Mach-E at the Harley-Davidson dealership, which is, it's not useful for it. It just isn't.
All right, let's keep going. Number 4 is the double one. The Tesla outdoes Ford in 2, I think, important categories. First, in performance. I'm not talking about 0 to 60 times. I'm talking about range, right? And electric cars are kind of like real estate, right? It's all about range, location, location, location. And in general, the Ford, without the federal tax credit, which Tesla doesn't have, is more expensive and yet offers you less range.
Well, we got to put an asterisk in because the Mustang Mach-E starts more affordably than the Tesla. So it starts at about $43,000 before the tax credit, which means in theory, if you apply for the $7,500 federal tax credit, you could potentially get one for about $35,000 once you factor in that credit.
But Ford starts with a 2-wheel drive. The Model Y doesn't come with the 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive.
Yeah,
basically.
You have to compare the base Model Y,
right,
which is a long-range all-wheel drive.
The dual motor.
Yeah, and then you compare that to the Mustang Mach-E Extended Range Premium with all-wheel drive. Now the Model Y starts at $49,900. If you look at the comparable Mustang, before tax credit, that one is $54,700. So it's actually more expensive than the comparable Model Y. Factor in the tax credit, in theory, you could get it a little bit more affordably than the Tesla. But still, like if you look at apples to apples, the Mustang is still a very expensive vehicle. And range-wise, Tesla states the Model Y long range at 326 miles. Ford says that extended range premium with all-wheel drive, 270 miles. So that's the difference of 56 miles, which is astronomical in the EV world.
If you've never owned an electric vehicle and you're thinking, what's a big deal? It's like 50 miles. Well, it is a big deal when you're running on empty and you have no place to charge it.
I will say though, Dad, I think the range is much less of an issue than people make it out to be. I mean, we never get anywhere near empty on that Tesla. And even on like our smart electric drive, which has a range of 70 miles, we never ran that out of power either.
Yeah, and then if you look at the EPA numbers, the Tesla is just much more efficient.
Yeah, significantly more efficient. I have them pulled up on my phone.
Yeah.
So the EPA rates electric vehicles in something called miles per gallon equivalent.
Yeah.
And the combined on the Tesla is 125. The combined on the Mustang is just 90.
Yeah. So this is another kind of click in the Model Y's category. But having said that, I think you can't underestimate the $7,500 tax credit, which Tesla no longer has, but Ford has, plus any local tax credit. In Colorado, it would also be, until the end of this year, at least a $4,000 tax credit. So you're looking at $7,500 plus $4,000. That's a significant chunk of money.
But it's worth noting, too, you have to make enough money
right,
to apply for those tax credits.
Yeah, but if you're buying a $50,000 car,
I don't make enough money to apply for that tax credit, so I wouldn't get the $7,500.
Are you asking for a raise?
I am asking for a raise. That's my subtle way of asking for a raise there, Dad.
Number 3, Tommy.
Nowhere near enough money.
And this is an interesting one. So Tesla doesn't have any dealerships, right? All the stores are company owned. But yet Ford does. And I think actually the dealer network is going to be a pretty big liability for Ford because for 2 reasons. One, Ford and every other dealership out there makes a lot of their money currently on servicing cars. And for the most part, electric cars don't need like any blinker fluid. I'm just kidding, or blinker fluid, but they don't need oil changes. Their brakes aren't as changed as often because you're using the regen to brake. It basically doesn't require a lot of dealer visits.
And there's a pro and a con to buying from a dealer. The big con is that dealers may try to mark them up, which Tesla will never do. Tesla, it's the price, and you pay it or you don't. But at the same time, Ford may offer discounts on it too, so you may be able to negotiate with the dealer and get some money off of it. So that is a pro. Next up on our list, we have the service situation.
So with servicing, Tommy, our Model Y has had a number of issues. The most dramatic one being that our driver's side rear door refused to open. And the good thing was that when that happened the first time, Tesla sent out a tech to our offices. They fixed it. Unfortunately, it broke again, then we had to take it in eventually. But, for the most part, a lot of the work that needs to be done at a Tesla, Tesla will send out a service call to you. So you don't have to bring the car into the dealership because there is no dealership, or the store. They actually come out to you. And I think that's huge, especially if you're living through a pandemic where you really don't want to go and have intimate contact with people you don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is nice, and it's super easy. You schedule it all in your app. Ford is working on a similar model with scheduling appointments as well, but it's not as seamless. You have to, bring the car to a dealer.
All right, and my last point, Tommy, actually, let me tell you a story, right? Did you know that recently Chevy had to take down the Blazer from Tiger Stadium? You know why?
Why?
Because it was made in Mexico, and a lot of the folks in Detroit who were going there, especially the union folks, weren't happy about having them feature a car not made in America.
Interesting.
Guess where the Mach-E is made?
Yeah, I know it's made in Mexico.
Guess where the Model Y is made?
The Model Y is built currently in the U.S.
Yes, and in these political times that we live in, I suspect that is important to a lot of people. And to be fair, the Polestar, the ID4, and the Volvo are also built in America. They're built in their respective home countries for the most part.
Although apparently they're going to start ID4 production here in the U.S.
In Chattanooga at some point.
Yeah, so that's coming here to the U.S. Honestly, this is a big deal to a lot of people. My bigger concern is the Tesla build quality. Even though it is assembled in the U.S., we've had a lot of build quality issues with ours. So I'm thinking that Ford will hopefully do a better job actually screwing the bits to the other bits.
And finally, I always like to do a bonus, Tommy, and I think, when I was in Detroit and they rolled out the Mustang Mach-E, my jaw kind of fell to the ground because I was like, why are you calling this a Mustang? And I think they're going to run into issues with that. There's going to be a lot of brand confusion. I understand the halo effect of wanting to call it a Mustang. But this is not a Mustang, right? I mean, it's got the kind of the frowny headlights. It's got that kind of classic traditional taillights. But at the end of the day, this is a crossover, and I think Ford would have probably done better to not call it a Mustang, but to call it anything else.
It may not be a Mustang, but at least it doesn't look like a boulder fell on a catfish. It's a much better car. It's a much better looking car than the Tesla Model Y. The Tesla Model Y, then, it may be very efficient, but it is remarkably ugly. Whereas the Mustang, even in person, it does look better, even if it's not, in my opinion, a true Mustang.
And we should talk about performance because, of course, we've got the dual motor, which, according to Tesla, will do 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds.
Well, we have the dual motor performance,
yeah, which will do 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. And right now, the GT Mach-E is not available yet. So the top of the line, the one that, the lust-worthy one, the one that's quickest, isn't available.
The good news about that, though, is it's also supposed to do 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. And if you look at the extended range premium Mach-E with the big battery and all-wheel drive, that one, according to Ford, is 0 to 60 in 4.8. And the equivalent Model Y is also 4.8.
Yeah, and then of course there's a wild card, and that wild card has a four-letter name, Musk, right? And Musk really does a lot of crazy stuff when it comes to selling cars. At the end of the quarter, he'll do things like give you free supercharging for the life of your car, or he may lower the price by a significant amount because it really is his company and he does run it that way. So we'll see, what will happen. But I suspect that, when the Mach-E starts to hit the dealership, Tesla will come out with some kind of incentive to get people into the Model Y. And Model Y, by the way, accounts for a majority of their sales right now.
It's going to be an interesting race. We also have to talk about autonomy. Tesla's really been pushing their full self-driving recently. Ford's got this new Copilot 728 10 400
assist.
1080 assist version, which is also supposed to be like a full self-driving thing on the highway. So we'll see what that means in the real world when that actually hits the cars.
The question is, will the Mach-E take sales away from Tesla buyers? And I suspect it won't. I think if you want a Tesla, you want a Tesla, right? You want that marquee name, and so then the question is who is going to buy the Mach-E, and then you got to start educating people as to a lot of different things, right? Most Mustang owners, and this is why I say there's a lot of brand confusion, are used to dealing with like torque and horsepower, right? And electric cars aren't about that for the most part. They're more about charging rates, kilowatt hours, amps, right? And that's a very different conversation. And it gets to the heart of the electric car. And Ford is not only going to have to educate their buyers to what all those things mean and how they affect the vehicle, but then they're going to have to also convince them that their vehicle is better than the Tesla. And I think for all those reasons, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to be selling into a headwind.
It's not that hard, though. I mean, this is all you have to educate the consumer. Ready?
Right.
You buy the Mustang Mach-E, you go on the Ford website, you filter out all the level 2 chargers, you find the DC fast chargers, you filter out the Harley-Davidson charger, you find the Electrify America, you drive to the Electrify America in the Walmart parking lot at 2 a.m., 3 of the electrified stations probably won't work. So you got to call them up and be like, excuse me, my thing's not charging. 2 of them probably won't connect at all. The 3rd one will connect. Try the phone reader on the credit card scanner. That won't work. Pull out your credit card, plug it in, and eventually your Mustang might charge. Well, let us know what you think in the comments section below of the electric vehicle race that's heating up, Ford versus Tesla.
Yeah, and of course, it's not just Ford versus Tesla, Tommy. It's also Volvo now. It's Polestar. It's Volkswagen. So we're going to be doing our best to review these cars and put it. Hopefully, if Ford gives us one and actually lets us test their vehicle, take it up to Loveland Trials, the world's toughest electric car test, to see how it actually does in the real world, and to see how we can charge it. Because right now we're doing a lot of speculation, but that's all we can do.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, and check out TFLcar.com for more news, views, and of course, Tommy, what?
Real world reviews.
No, independent and honest real world reviews. That's why we're doing this video. Ciao.